Welcome, everybody. John Arvosis here, just getting my little table set up. Here to talk Ukraine. Yeah, 1 second. TikTok ready. There we go. Hello. Hey, everyone. Look at me starting on time. I'm so proud of myself. There's sound. There better be sound on TikTok. Oh, let me try again. Hold on. Unplug, replug. That seems to usually do it. There we go. All right, TikTokers. Now is there sound? Well, let's see. How about now? Now you got sound. Okay. Yes, it seems I have to unplug, replug. Always crazy. Anyway, hello everybody. Busy day. Busy day. I just in the last hour made bread and homemade tomato sauce. I'm very proud of myself. Mom wanted me to make sauce for dinner, so I had to run in the kitchen, try to get that done. At the same time, I was getting this done. Oh my. We've got the actually, I think I put it up. I got to put it up in the recipes on Discord. The no knead bread, which super easy and really nice because it's just literally no knead. You just we'll talk about it at the end. Thank you for the dancing cactus, Tom. So as always, since I am, my voice is really much better. After the show, we'll go hang out on Discord for a while and do our other non-politicsy stuff where we hang out and just shoot the breeze. So that'll be in an hour. That's aravosis.discord.com. And anyway, there you go. So yeah, let's I'm going to dig right in, and then we'll talk about at the end. Once we go to Discord, we'll talk bread, we'll talk homemade tomato sauce, we'll talk everything. Anyway, so hey everybody, I'm John Arvosis, normally in Washington, D.C., right now in Chicago, visiting Ma for the next month. And we are here to talk about Ukraine. Thank you, Inspired Woman. As always, I will do about maybe 20 minutes of news. There isn't a ton of news today. It was interesting. This may be the slowest news day yet. But then I say that, and we get into a large discussion back and forth, and then the time flies with me not even realize it. But anyways, I'll do maybe 20 minutes of news. Then I will take your guys' questions on TikTok. If you could submit them via the Q&A box on my profile, that would be the easiest way. Otherwise, you can submit them in the chat like you're doing now. It's just I've got to be seeing them the second you submit it because they go by. So sometimes it can be easier to put them in the Q&A box. For you all, you know what to do. Comment box. And of course, anybody who wants to do the super chat function on YouTube, love you for that. And finally, and let's dig in, the gifts on TikTok are always most welcome as well. Thank you, Bonnie. Even when you give me girly wreaths of flowers I like to think they're Ukrainian flowers, like the springtime traditional Ukrainian headdress for the women. All right, guys, let me dive right in. So I saw a nice little summary the other day of something I think I told you guys about before, which was when you are looking at who is giving the most to Ukraine, it helps to look at per GDP, meaning not just who's giving the raw numbers. In raw numbers, it's the US. We've been giving the greatest billions of dollars to Ukraine, okay? But it also helps to look based on the size of the local economy of who's giving. And the idea would be, if I give $1,000 to charity, it's a lot of money for me, I will say. If some homeless guy on the street gives $1,000 to charity, it's a whole other world of hurt of him giving up that money. That's huge, right? So you kind of have to look at the international donations the same way of how much is given compared to the size of the economy. What is interesting when you look that way, and hang on, I've got the list here, because it was interesting. I don't think it's changed much from the beginning, but it still is, it's interesting. So top aid donor to Ukraine by percent of GDP, gross domestic product, is Estonia. Number 2 is Latvia. 3, Poland. Norway. Lithuania. So all of this is like Baltic and Scandinavia, interestingly. Great Britain, the US, Slovakia, Canada, and Czech Republic. So kind of interesting. So yeah, so Estonia is number 1. We always knew that. I'm a little Poland was number 2. I guess Latvia surpassed them now, but when I looked at this a few months ago, it was Poland. But kind of nice to see, and I think it gives you a different sense because clearly the U.S. has given a ton. Ireland isn't there, so not sure. Not on this list at least that came out, but somebody forgot Ireland. Maybe somebody forgot Ireland. Don't blame me. I'm just reporting here. Somebody's hailing from Frankenstein from Transylvania. All right. So one of the big stories you probably heard about today is that Putin put out a decree, sort of decreeing that there would be another 137,000 Russians added to their military. Now, a lot of the military experts kind of said, that's not, it reminds me of the old joke, you and what army? It's kind of like, you can say that, but where are you getting 137,000 men, Mr. Putin? The problem for the Russians is they're short of men. By some estimates, the Russians have, let's put it this way, not lost 60,000 men, not 60%, but 60% of their forces are out of commission in Ukraine. And some are dead, some are injured, some have deserted, right? And they've not been able to replace this, to the point where the Russians are now going to local prisons around Russia and telling convicts, if you will fight for 6 months in the military in Ukraine, we'll wipe out your criminal record. And they're still having a hard time getting people, okay? So that's at least to the experts. I was reading a bunch of different experts today on this, and no one thought Putin was going to be able to pull this off without having a draft. The problem is, good luck having a draft, because there's a sort of an image problem for Putin in having a draft, but there's also a more practical political problem. The image problem is you can't claim the war is going well, and mind you, it's not even a war, right? It's a special military operation. It is literally illegal to call it a war. It is illegal to call it an invasion in Russia. 3 years imprisonment if you call it either of those terms, a war or an invasion. So by having to have a draft 6 months into this 3 day special military operation, you're kind of admitting to people that you screwed up, that things aren't going well. So he doesn't want to do that. The second issue is, and this one surprises me, and I'd almost love to hear more from some of the military experts about this. Not the military, excuse me, the longtime Russia experts. But where Russia seems like it's become quite the dictatorship of late. Okay, it was always kind of authoritarian. It's become very dictatorship-y lately. But Putin is still afraid of having a nationwide draft because of it causing social unrest and civil unrest. That's interesting. I mean, that's interesting to me. So that's the part of the other reason that he won't be able to pull this off, because he'd have to have a draft, and he can't have a draft. He'll have too much unrest. Now, the final thing I saw one person suggest, Putin could try to get around this, for example, by stretching out 1-year military contracts to 18 months. Because you've got, for example, 18 to 27-year-olds who have to do their military service in Russia, right? And all of them don't have to, but they've all got to sign up, and then I don't know whether it was like a couple 100,000 or 300,000 a year get picked at random, and they've got to do 1 year of military service. He could continue that to he could expand it to an 18-month military service rather than a 1 year. So instead of these like 300,000 like this, you might have 300,000, right? All of a sudden you've got them overlapping. So now the overlap, you've got 600,000. I'm just making these numbers up, but you see how you could suddenly increase the numbers by having overlap of a much bigger range of people staying there. Anyway, there you go. I see the Russians are very upset at President Biden today. Oh, well, sorry, Russians. So the Zaporizhzhia plant, this was another big issue that hit today. This is a very strange issue. This is the nuclear plant. Thank you, Vicky, for that. This is the Ukrainian nuclear plant that the Russians have been shelling. The Russians claim the Ukrainians are shelling it. I doubt the Ukrainians are shelling it, but nonetheless, the Russians have been occupying the plant since the beginning of the war. It's in southern Ukraine. Biggest nuclear plant in Europe, supplies 20% of Ukraine's power. And it was cut off of the power grid today by a number of fires that broke out, presumably because of shelling and stuff like this. What I found very confusing about the story, and I went and looked at Russia. I went and looked. I've been to Russia multiple times. Have you ever been to Russia? Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. You are Russian. Little fake troll. The New York Times, BBC, I mean, all the stories on this, it's a very confusing story. But basically what I was able to figure out was, because of these fires breaking out, the connection from the nuclear plant to Ukraine's electrical grid got severed. It was down to like one connection, and then it got severed as well. Okay. What that means, at least on its face, is the nuclear plant can no longer, the energy can no longer be, given to the rest of the country. Okay, fair enough. But there were a number of angles to this, which was they then reconnected the plant to Ukraine's energy grid, but the nuclear reactors were not turned on again. They hadn't been, they were still offline. So that was the first issue that I was like, okay, so are they giving energy or are they not to the rest of Ukraine, right? The more important issue, the scarier issue, is Zelensky is saying that, we were very close to a nuclear accident today. And I was reading some of the sources that were saying that when the plants disconnected from the power grid, they themselves lost power. In other words, the cooling system of the plant, and again, I am not a nuclear scientist, but I think anybody who's read up on nukes, you kind of know how it works. You've still got the water that's flowing around, the water that's cooling the containment rods and all that kind of containment, the nuclear rods and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, the system for the electricity to keep that water flowing and to keep the containment got turned off, and they had to rely on the backup diesel generators that we talked about about a week ago. The concern there is you're literally using backup diesel generators. I'd read something like 20 of them a couple of weeks ago. What if they don't work? Then you're screwed because that's your backup. So if once you're using the backup, there's no backup to the backup. So again, tried to get more on that. Not really clear more of what the hell was going on. It seems like things are better now. At least it's connected to the grid, which suggests, at least from, and I'm really surprised these articles aren't any better at this, but at least it suggests, therefore, that the plants themselves are getting power to keep the water flowing and all of that, to keep the coolant going. But the nuclear plants themselves may not have been turned back on again to be generating energy through the electric grid in general. So there you go. That's what's up with the plant. And, the International Atomic Energy Agency at the UN is claiming the Russians are getting very close to allowing an inspection, which is really kind of sick, because if the Russians weren't up to something no good, why wouldn't they just let the UN come inspect the plant? What's the big deal? It's a nuclear plant. I mean, just let them come inspect it. But they're clearly up to something, and they don't want the UN operators there. All right. Lukashenko, this one I thought was kind of funny. So the dictator who runs Belarus, which is the country to the north and a little bit west of Ukraine, he's a dictator. Lukashenko, he's a best friend of Putin. He let the Russians come and invade Ukraine through Belarus, because Russia, again, you might be backwards here, but Russia's like north and a little bit east. Belarus is north and a little bit west, and they border each other, right? So the Russians came down through Russia, but they also came through and down Belarus as well. Well, Lukashenko, to be a jerk yesterday, it was Ukrainian Independence Day, let me pull this up, put out a message. What did he do? He congratulated Ukraine and wished them a peaceful sky. And then there proceeded to be a bunch of Russian missiles that were fired from Belarus at Ukraine. So, all right. Hey, the dogs are fighting again. Actually, my dog is being mean to my mom's dog. Sasha, leave her alone. I feel like that girl with the emu on TikTok, where she's, what's the emu's name? Where she's like, hey, God, they're so bad. They're just so bad. Hey, no. Oh my God, the two of them. Now, mom's dog is doing her thing that she does when I'm doing my show, and mom's dog decides it's time to start barking to get Emmanuel. Yeah, Emmanuel, that's it. But I mean, now mom's dog is doing her, like, get my attention. Oh my God. Oh, and Karen, that's true. There's Karen too. All right. They seem like, okay, Kukla. I'll give you guys a quick, now Kukla's a very furry dog. She's getting a haircut soon, so don't laugh. But Kukla, oh, thank you, Kukla. She's a very, very sweet 13-and-a-half-year-old Maltese Bichon, but big hairy dog. Okay, so Lukashenko puts out this nasty message to Ukraine. Oh, I wish you beautiful skies on your Independence Day, and then allows the Russians to shoot a bunch of missiles from his territory at the Ukrainians because he was being a jerk. Well, I've got to see if I've got it. Otherwise, I can read it to you, but I want to see it. Sometimes these things are sometimes more fun just to see. Oh, I do have it on my, hold on, I've got it on my Twitter. I'll show you guys. I think it's more fun for these kind of things for you to actually read them yourself. It's just funnier. Actually, there's a couple of them I got that are very funny. You know what? I'll read it to you. So the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense puts out a tweet in response and says, yesterday on our Independence Day, the dictator Lukashenko congratulated Ukraine and wished us a peaceful sky. As a gift, missiles were again fired from Belarus to Ukraine. We wish Lukashenko the same peaceful sky and reunification with his good friends Hussein and Gaddafi. They basically wished him death. They basically said, we hope you die, in a tweet, which, I mean, it cracked me up though, because it was, we wish you a peaceful sky and reunification with your good friends Saddam Hussein, and Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi. It's like, woo! I know they could have wished him the only problem is they may not have wanted to make a joke about a car bomb because, they're being blamed for the car bomb that I very much doubt they did, going after that Dugina woman. So they're probably being a little careful about car bomb jokes. Nonetheless, that would have been a good one. So next up. So the train station attack. Yeah, there was a train station attack yesterday on Ukrainian Independence Day. The town was Chapline. That's going to be my pronunciation of. I'm pronouncing it Spanish. Chapline. It's east of Dnipro. If you look at the Dnipro River going up north and south, Ukraine, cutting the country in half, maybe a third of the way up, there's a town called Dnipro. East of there, between it and Donetsk, the town Donetsk, you're going to see this town Chapline. The Russians shot 4 missiles at least 4 missiles at the town, because they also blew up a house and some other things in addition to the train station. And the train killed 25. The death toll currently is 25. 31 are injured. It includes an 11-year-old who died under the rubble of a house and a 6-year-old who died caught in a car fire. So kind of nasty. There's a story out today. The French oil company is denying it, but Le Monde, which is it's probably the most august French newspaper, very well respected worldwide, been around forever. Le Monde reports today, working with some NGOs, some nonprofit investigators, that I'm just going to read this to you. The French oil and gas company Total is alone among its Western peers to have continued operations in Russia. It receives income from the sale of gas condensate, which once transformed into kerosene, fuels Russian planes striking Ukraine. So Total has been, according to Le Monde, doing this sort of secret business, providing jet fuel for the Russian fighter jets. Another paragraph from the story. In Russia, Total Energies, the name of the company, does not just export gas to Europe, as it often says, to justify its presence there in Russia. The French oil and gas giant and its local partner Novatek manage a gas field whose product, once transformed into kerosene, is used to fuel Russian fighter planes engaged in the war in Ukraine. Terneftegas, the company that runs the field, is 49% owned by Total Energies and 51% by Novatek. Total then came out today and denied the entire thing. Let's see. But clearly, I hope they come down on them like a ton of bricks. And this certainly seems like a violation of the sanctions as well. Several stories about Derussification, which means taking the Russia out of your countries, if you're former Eastern European country or former Soviet countries, I should say. One, Kyiv. This was good in Ukraine. Kyiv, Ukraine, changed the name of 95 streets, I believe in the Ukrainian capital alone, street names that were connected to Russia and the Soviet Union. The name changes mostly targeted names of Russian cities and famous figures. And it was passed by the city, announced by the mayor. I've got some examples. Examples of the name changes include the original name was Piterska Street, after the nickname of the Russian city St. Petersburg. So I guess it's Piterska. was the cute little name for St. Petersburg, and they named a street after that. It is now Londonska. Is that great? Londonska. In other words, after London. Oh, thank you, Louis, for that. Londonska. And a Marshal Malinovsky Street, after Soviet military commander Rodion Malinovsky, has become the Azov Regiment Street, which you know is going to tick off the Russians, because that's naming it after the Azov Battalion, which is the group that they claim are Enzis and everything else. Pisses off the Russians. Riga, I'm going to show you a video of this. Thank you, Lori. Riga, Latvia, which is one of the 3 Baltic countries, right? Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. And these 3 countries were part of the Soviet Union. They got eaten up by the Soviet Union and free, obviously, once the Soviet Union dissolved 1991. So Riga, Latvia tore down today a monument to Soviet soldiers. It was a 79-meter tall monument, which I even Googled, is around 260 feet. So 79 meters tall, 260 feet tall monument to the Soviet liberators. And they tore it down today, actually. The decision to dismantle the monument was installed. Oh, the monument was installed during Soviet times. The decision to remove it was in May. And let me show you the video, because it is kind of a nice video. It's kind of quick, though, so I'm going to have to show you. I'll have to just get it rolling and then show you guys. Hang on. Well, actually, I'm going to show you 2. There's one that I like just because it's this sort of huge, big, slow. Here, I'll show you guys first. I like it when it's just this super slow motion collapse, even though it's not slow motion, but it's because there's so much mass there. It may be slowed down. I'm not sure, but I think it's because of the mass as well. But then there's an even bigger picture I'll show you, because it's collapsing into a pool of water. Now, the better video. Okay, here's the better video. So, all right. So, oops, sorry. All right. But I love the almost slow motion of the water burst is very cool to me. All right, hold on. Oops, hit start. You can tell that thing's heavy. Yeah. Very cool. It was a 79 meter or 260 foot tall monument to the Soviet soldiers. And the Latvians finally said, you know what? Enough of this stuff. It's a lot of the snow angels, except it's a water angel. Exactly. You're seeing Poland kind of get tired of this stuff too. But it's you see Poland has been saying some of these things as well recently, which has been interesting, as far as kind of saying, you know what, we're tired of these monuments. They're monuments that the Soviets put up. They were monuments to the Soviets, and these are the troops that enslaved these countries. So not cool at all. Citigroup is going to close its remaining branches and consumer banking operations in Russia as it exits the country in protest of the war in Ukraine. The move will affect 2,300 staff in the country who will be laid off, 2,300 Russians. Citi, the U.S. bank with the biggest presence in Russia, said it planned to leave back in April, and it was trying to sell these branches and apparently was unsuccessful. So they're just now closing them down and laying off all the Russians, which, oh well. I do not feel sorry for these folks at this point. So Eurovision, the Russian Eurovision singer. Now, this year's Eurovision Song Contest, it's the big European and then some, like Israel's shows up too, but mostly a Europe kind of song contest that the Russians were excluded from this year because of the invasion of Ukraine. The Ukrainians won, you remember. And a Russian Eurovision singer who was the entry for Russia in 2021, so last year, has been facing a hate campaign that is a very organized hate campaign, which kind of makes you think it's coming from the government. But listen to this. The singer who represented Russia at Eurovision, this is from the BBC, in Eurovision in 2021, is being targeted by a cyberbullying campaign over her opposition to the war in Ukraine. Manisha Sungin has been an outspoken critic of the invasion, calling it a fraternal conflict that goes against the will of Russian people. Now, a coordinated online campaign is trying to blacklist her in Russia. Many of her concerts this summer have been scrapped after details of the organizers were posted on social media. So yeah, they've gone after all of her concerts. And I mean, there aren't a lot of people speaking out in Russia anymore. Certainly not senior people. We just had that mayor yesterday who's under arrest simply because he referred to the invasion as an invasion, and it's illegal. 3 years in prison for referring to it as an invasion or a war. That's how crazy it is. Two more things. The last one's kind of a funny thing. Moms in Luhansk. This story is interesting. Okay, and I'll tell you why I'm bringing it up. So this story is about mothers and other relatives of soldiers captured by the Ukrainians who are upset about their kids and their whereabouts. What is interesting is this is in the Luhansk Oblast, which is the easternmost province of Ukraine. It's one of those two provinces that Russia's well, they're going to try to annex everything, but we're trying to get control of even from the beginning. Remember, Donetsk and Luhansk together are called Donbass, the region. So the Luhansk, a lot of the not a lot, but however many of the local men took up arms against the Ukrainian government. So they were actually collaborators, in essence, traitors working for the Russians. Well, in the war, the Ukrainians captured a bunch of them, and the moms are upset. Let me read this to you, but it's interesting because it gets to a larger problem the Russians are having in this region. I had mentioned a story several days ago about this, where so mind you, got these people in this region. They like to be thought of as a breakaway region, but the Russians have been pouring a lot of arms and a lot of people in there to break the region away. It is not a civil war. Thank you, Ellie. The Russians would like you to think it's a civil war, but it's not. It's a civil war of the Russia's own making in Ukraine. Okay. So the people of that region the Russians invaded. The Russians have pretty much captured the entire region of Luhansk. And now the people in Luhansk, the fighters, are saying they don't want to fight anywhere else. They don't want to fight in the rest of Ukraine, even in the province next door, Donetsk. They're saying, you know what? We got ours like 2 months ago. Russia liberated us. We're done. We're not fighting anymore. Well, this is why I think it's interesting that the moms and the wives are speaking up, because you're starting to see more unrest. And you've got to remember that in Russia, for example, the Soviet Union, it was the moms speaking out against the war in Afghanistan that had a huge impact on that war. Just to read a little more, that's kind of it. Oh, one more little thing. This was from the Institute for the Study of War. Thank you, Netlin, for that. From ISW, defense think tank. Predatory mobilization processes. What a phrase, predatory mobilization, in the Luhansk Republic, and reports that the Kremlin considers the Donetsk Republic and Luhansk Republic fighters the lowest priority in prisoner exchanges, are likely exacerbating social friction. In other words, there are reports that the Russians don't really care about these guys because they're basically Ukrainian traitors. They're not Russians. So even though, they work for Russia, they're on the bottom of the totem pole for the Russians actually doing exchanges, prisoner exchanges. The Russians want to get Russians. They don't want to get these Ukrainian traitors. So all of this is just pissing more people off. I just, again, brought it up because it's more evidence of the Russians having problems sort of amongst themselves, and a little bit of, obviously, any kind of social push of people publicly being angry is interesting. Now, I have one last little funny tweet to show you. This one I just have to show you. There's no reading it, but this one made me chuckle. I'll send it to TikTok in 1 second. All right, here you go, TikTok. That's German Chancellor Scholz. It's a joke comparing him to basically like the Tiananmen guy who stood in front of the tank, or other Ukrainians. There also were videos at the beginning. Remember the Ukrainians, were they throwing like bicycles and things to stop the tanks for the Russian tanks? So they're saying like man throws himself in front of tank to stop it from going to Ukraine, except it's actually the German Chancellor who's not letting tanks go to help Ukraine. I thought it was very, very well done. No, the moms are pissed. These are moms of, sorry, Kelly's asking what do the moms have to do. These are moms of, okay, hello. No, hey, seriously? Mind you, this is the punishment I get for taking, this is Mom's dog, for taking her out right before we start. Hey, come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Hey. Right before we started, I took her out. Kukla. Hey. Stop. She does this to the television too. Oh my God. I'm going to throw something at you. Hey. No. No. I pretended to throw Sasha's ball. Okay, come here. Come here. Come here. Then if I like, I'm going to reach down and there we go. I'm reaching down and petting her. I'm not going to roll up a newspaper. That would be mean. So no, I'm petting her. This is the nicer version of getting her to shut up. So I'm just going to lean a minute and pet. So the reason for the moms is that you've basically got these two regions that Russia declared independent. And it's basically two additional regions in Ukraine that the Russians are trying to steal. And Russia will try to steal them and make them part of Russia. They were able to get, and sometimes forced. These were not all volunteers. Some, Ukrainians in these areas volunteered to fight the Ukrainian government, to fight alongside the Russians. Others of them were forced at gunpoint, and we showed videos at the beginning of the war of this, forced at gunpoint by the Russians to join like the local militia and fight against the other Ukrainians. So what they're saying is that now you have the moms and the wives of these Ukrainians who were, the breakaway Ukrainians, the collaborators and the traitors, I'll call them, who are upset that their loved ones, are gone and they don't know where they are and they haven't heard anything. And again, where it comes back to Russia is because Russia is notorious for not caring what happens to the non-Russian parts of its military. These guys are Ukrainian blooded. They're Ukrainian traitors working for Russia, and Russia couldn't care less that they're now prisoners of war. And Russia's not doing anything to help these prisoners of war be part of the exchange with Ukraine. So that's why the moms are pissed off, and it's going to cause more social tensions for Russia. And frankly, it's going to make it even harder for Russia to use this region to buttress its war effort, because people in the region are getting more and more pissed off at the Russians. So there you go. A little more water for me. All right, folks. So I will do Q&A that you throw on the screen. Also, as we said, if you put stuff in the Q&A box on TikTok, I will read that as well. Kirilo, hello in Ukraine. How are you? What are you in you're in your whole military outfit there too, aren't you? Kirilo, is it Kirilo? Something like that. Unstable connection again. Jesus Christ. It's supposed to be a good. I even made sure the connection was the good Wi-Fi today, but it's saying bad. So what do we got? Let me look at TikTok here and see. Oh God, is it thunderstorms tonight? This is like my nightmare scenario. Oh no. Okay, we're good. It's not my nightmare scenario when it's thunderstorms, because my dog flips out when there are thunderstorms. All right, Q&A. Do you think China is about to invade Taiwan? Why does everybody ask that? I just don't understand. I just don't understand why everybody keeps asking that. I don't know. I really don't. The UN going in to provide security for the nuclear plant. The latest we heard was that the UN was close to reaching a deal with Russia, that Russia would then allow them to come in and inspect the plant and make sure everything's okay. A little weird. It's a little weird. Does it matter that Putin signed to get more troops? That's what I talked about earlier. What does it do when they can't even get troops as it is now? That's a perfect analysis. So JSM Demand is talking about Putin signing the decree that said, by magic, Russia will have another 137,000 troops. Well, as he is correct in saying, JSM, that Putin can't get enough people to fight right now. Right? They're having to up the amount of money they give. They even put quotas around the country, around Russia, and told each province that they had a quota of how many men they had to get to come and fight. They're having to go to prisons and having to get basically current convicts to fight for them in the Russian military, and telling them that if you fight for 6 months in the Russian military in Ukraine, we'll wipe out your prison sentence. This is not a country that can very easily just come up with 137,000 men. The other issue is, of just how qualified they're going to be. I mean, not just that they don't have military experience, but the amount of training they're going to get is not going to be great. And as we saw before, some of these guys were getting 2 and 3 days training. I mean, it was absolutely nothing. Actually, the other day, remember last week, they were talking about the Russians were trying to get for their naval fleet, for the real submarine fleet, not the Moskva one, but for their submarine in the Black Sea. They had like 66 men on board. Only 60 of the spots were filled. They needed 6 more spots filled. They couldn't fill them, so they were lifting the requirement of previous experience to work, previous military experience and previous submarine experience. So now not only do you not have to have submarine experience to work on this Russian sub, but you don't even have to have military experience, because that's how desperate they are. Also, previously, Russia lifted the age to be in the Russian military. You had to be like up to age 40. Now it's up to age, 1 foot in the grave, practically. I mean, it's at least 65 that they raised it to. I'm not even convinced there was an upper limit. I think it's sort of as high as you want to get. So that is all to say that the Russians have been having a very hard time getting enough troops left and right. So, PBJ, would a blockade be possible around the area surrounding the nuclear plant? The problem is the Russians are controlling the nuclear plant in the surrounding area. So how do you blockade it? Right? I mean, this is the problem. The Russians are in control of the plant. Okay, Elise, that's cute. Or you could just listen to Elise, who answered the question for me. I didn't even see that. Yeah, that's exactly it. The Russians are in control of the area, which is part of why it's so crazy. Hello, Christina in Australia. Good to see you. Let me... Women required to stay after October 1st? Not sure what you're talking about. There are women in the Russian military, but they don't have, I believe they don't have the kind of jobs we've got, in the Ukrainian military. Oops, hang on here. More questions. The UN, the UN isn't going in to provide security. That's certainly not the plan. They wanted to go and just inspect, but that's all we've got. Death toll in the train attack up to 22. Oh, I'm guessing this is probably from yesterday then, because I said 25 today. So that's probably a yesterday question. That was my dog getting pissed at mom's dog again. I am not up on this. Interesting question. Didar is saying, what is your take on the Matteo Salvini and Putin relationship with Italy and what effect this might have on the war in Ukraine? I am really not up on what's going on with Italy. I know the far pro-Putin right had something to do with bringing the Italian government down and all of that, but that's all I know. I don't know more than that. Bobby is asking, how are things going for the artillery signing? That pretty much slowed down. So we're stuck at around $1,800, which does basically, there is a website, New York Times reported on it, so I'm gonna trust it here. But a guy has raised around $250,000 for a Ukrainian nonprofit, NGO. We say nonprofit in the U.S., but NGO that provides helps provide equipment to military members, but I don't think it's things like guns. It could be buying drones. It could be buying the example I saw was the goggles, the thermal imaging goggles they can wear at night, things like that. And depending on what you donate, as a thank you, they will do things in response. So one of the things, thank you, Annette, that's sweet of you. One of the things they will do is, like, for $150, they will sign you send them a message, pay $150, they will sign your message on the side of an artillery shell and take a picture of it for you before it gets shot off at the Russians. For $1,000, they will do the same shell, but they will literally, and I've seen these videos, you will see the shell with your message on it. They put it into the artillery. They, do what they need to do to prime it or whatever they do with our artillery and shoot it off. So you get the video of the entire thing going off. That's $1,000. Well, for the grenades were kind of gross. There was $2,000 for grenades, but it was just a little too gross. I'm not thrilled with the Russians, but it basically, you'd get a drone a drone video of your grenade getting dropped on Russians, and I was like, okay. I mean, that's a little creepy. I mean, literally, I've seen these videos online. I mean, these drones are, you got to be pretty hardcore for that one. I'm not there. But for $5,000, they will write your message on the side of a howitzer. And the howitzers are, I will show you guys, for those who don't know, howitzers are basically the big guns from the U.S. and other NATO other countries, NATO allies, but the U.S. has sent a lot. The howitzers are these big guns that shoot the artillery shells, but they're the ones. Well, here I'll show you really quick. You can see anybody who doesn't know if you can tell by that picture. It's the big gun that sits on the ground and has a huge what do you call the muzzle or whatever you call it there? Oh my God, I'm forgetting what you call the muzzle coming out of it or whatever. And it's the one that when it fires, it like goes boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like, and it's on the ground still, but goes boom, boom, and does the big firing. The barrel, thank you, or the turret or the barrel, exactly. So muzzle, I'm thinking dog since I'm dealing with dog fights here. So for $5,000, they will write your message on the turret and leave it there for the rest of the war, and you will get a video of the gun with your message shooting off. I think that would be amazing. Let's see if we can pull it off. I don't know. Jeff Morrison, I'm not sure what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Sorry, Jeff Morrison, tell me more. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I don't know what you're referring to when you said this. Did you check out this? It was interesting. So anyway, guys, that's where we are. I would love to hit 5,000. If we don't, then, we're at around $1,800 right now. I keep forgetting. That's right. I will put up how you guys can give. If we don't hit it, we can buy a couple shells with videos. We'll still be pretty cool with our message on it, which is okay. I do think the 5,000 would be pretty amazing. All right. I'm putting it here. You guys are getting my PayPal, my Venmo, and my Cash App. For you all, if there's any mods, you can copy it over for folks. Otherwise, go to my profile. This is TikTok I've got on my iPad over here. For TikTok, you can, let me show you. For TikTok, you can go to my profile. And in my profile, you will see a web link right beneath where it says Discord and merchandise. You see a web link that says beacons.ai. You hit the beacons link, and there's been an ad coming up from TikTok. So when the TikTok ad comes up, go to the upper left corner. It's really annoying. Go to the upper left corner and hit that so it goes away. So there you are. You get pulled to this page, little intro. And what's that first thing? Let's help soldiers in Ukraine, $5,000. That link is to my PayPal. The links below, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, they're all there. So you can give to any of them. I will thank you for copying that over, Cindy. And I'm giving 100% of those donations to this effort. So I'm not taking buy Bitcoin, exactly plastics. I am not taking any of the cash for myself. Good night, Annette. I know you're working late there in Europe. Thanks for joining us. So if we can do it, I think it would be fun. As I said, I'm not taking any of the money, but I just think it'd be fun and cool, and why not, So let us see. Jeff, here we go. Jeff was saying he was live from Ukraine showing the tank stuff and stuff they had on display for, I know what you mean. Yeah. Actually, we had Jeff is referring to the big tank display they had in downtown Kyiv yesterday for Independence Day. Like even they've had it for a few months, since the end of May, I believe. They put some tanks there, but it was they had even more. We had actually Max, Chicago pilot, who I haven't seen in a while. I hope he's doing okay. That's exactly, actually, that's what Max showed us. Max, Chicago pilot, took us on a live tour. It was raining, the poor guy. He was live. Max was live as well. Max took us on a live tour of the destroyed Russian tanks and everything, and they've got plaques up describing them. It was really cool. But this would have been even cooler now, because from the news reports I saw, they had a ton of these, like way, I don't know if they had 24. Basically, they were I'm going to see if I can find a picture. They were going down the boulevard Max was back in the U.S. as of about a month ago or so. I just haven't heard anything since. Let me pull this. Kyiv, tanks. The picture going like down the main boulevard was pretty cool. I want to see. The problem is like it's got to be the yesterday one. Oh. Here, we'll do the Irish Times. If they've got the iconic photo. Come on, Irish Times. Okay, I accept your stupid cookies. Ah. And then of course, yeah, geo resource failed to load. Irish. Okay, see, I tried to be nice to you Irish folks. They won't show me what's on the Irish Times because I'm in America. Evil. All right, I'm going to give up after this. I'm not going to keep. But there's an iconic photo that was really nice, showing like the whole boulevard and how, I mean, like literally it looked like 24 tanks. No, that's okay. I mean, there's some nice photos anyway. You know. Yeah, I mean, I'll show you. I mean, you get the sense of it because it was Independence Day. So everyone, look at all the kids and everything climbing all over the Soviet tanks. I mean, it was the Soviet. I keep calling them the Soviets, the Russians. I mean, you get a sense here, but it was going the entire stretch of the boulevard like a mile, and it looked like they had, God, 24 of these things. I mean, it was really cool, really cool. Thank you, Vicky. So there we go. I know I'm not. It's okay. I don't. Yeah, it's okay. Well, I don't need to find it with you guys here. I want to see if I had anything else I was going to show you. I don't think I had anything else I was going to show you. We can just keep doing Q&A if you've got Q&A. Let me see here. But I think they only had those 2 or 3 things to show you today. Actually, I was going to show you this, which I thought was just kind of bizarro. Some of the military guys were sharing this updated photo of Putin. Putin is known to be vain. He gets plastic surgery. This is pretty bad, though, because he looks like he's turning into a Turkmeni or something. Thank you, Netlin. Basically, I mean, God, he actually looks like Lenin. I mean, but like plastic Lenin. I was asking my friend Damien, who you've all met before, Damien, who lived in Hollywood and knows about all this. Damien said that would be cheek implants followed by skin. They do something to the skin to make it what do they do? They did cheek implants and they'd like blast your skin on your cheeks to make it smooth or something. I mean, honest to God, he looks like he's a wax statue, a wax figure. I mean, awful, just awful. But he's super vain little man. Abrasion. There you go. Yeah, dermabrasion. I mean, yeah. Oh, well. Well, exactly. You can only have so much. That's what Damien warns about. It's funny because he lived in Hollywood forever and he was like, oh, he'll show me some of the stars on TV and he's like, you can only, thank you, Yav. That was cute. He says you can only do so much surgery before it starts to just, and then it kind of compounds. Like you have to get more surgery or you don't or everything just collapses. But when you get more surgery, you still look bad. But otherwise everything just, nasty. Yeah. Otherwise, and then you become a Kardashian. Exactly. I can see if there's more questions here. Otherwise we can just hang for a little bit. Up to you guys if you got more questions here. Okay. Enough of the Bitcoin thing, COVID. You are one step away from me blocking you because I think you're a troll. One more Bitcoin comment. Yeah, I was going to say that was even enough of a Bitcoin comment because that's the second time I saw you do that. Yeah, that was a troll. And I am a friend of Bitcoin, but nonetheless, that kind of stuff is bull. All right, what do we got here too? Oh, that was nice of you. Nope. Sorry. Q&A. Anything else in here? As a junior high world geography teacher in Texas, would you ever consider doing a Zoom meeting with kids when we discuss Europe and Russia? I mean, sure. My only fear is Texas. I'm not sure Texas is going to be very happy about me zooming into your class. Now, I, of course, would be careful. I guess it depends what you want to, I'd consider it. Sure. It depends what you want to talk about. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'd consider it. Sure. I just wouldn't, I worry about like the Republican legislators there going crazy. But then again, they can't get me. I'm in Illinois. I'm in the North. They can't get me. Exactly. I'm not in Texas. So no, I would consider doing that. Thank you, Vicky. Isn't the display of destroyed Russian equipment putting a huge bullseye on the Capitol for the Russians to hit when people are out? The thing is, they haven't. And I don't know why. I just don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why the Russians have not been hitting the Capitol at all. So, no. I mean, my guess is that if the Russians literally blew up a bunch of children climbing on tanks just to blow them up, that would be even worse than what they've done. I mean, they've done pretty bad stuff in terms of blowing things up to date, but that would be pretty bad. So, the other thing is, well, exactly. I mean, the other thing is you just kind of have to go on with your lives, So interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, it is a fair point, but they got to go on with their lives. And the Russians clearly have shown that they really don't want to do that, which is good. What else? All right. Well, guys, I don't know. If we don't have anything else, I mean, got anything else? Kyiv is a symbol for Putin. He doesn't want it destroyed. Well, there is good air defense, too. That's a good point. Andy is saying the air defense around Kyiv. Right. They do have very good air defense that's been able to shoot down, thank you, Flower Lady, that's been able to shoot down the cruise missiles and other things. So that also may be why that they may have tried. Right. I am not an Italian beef guy. I don't mind Italian beef. I prefer getting the burgers at Portillo's than the Italian beef. But I did stop at Portillo's on the way home from the airport and get an Italian. I get a charbroiled burger. What else? The ants have not come back. No, I think it was anta. It was one very pernicious, persistent ant that came back at me 3 different times within 3 minutes, the damn thing. And now you got me looking. Yeah. Bleh. My allergies have been bad too. So I'm just kind of like, bleh. I don't know Walker Brothers. I am in the Chicago area, but normally live in DC, but visiting Ma. Anyway. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Elise just said the use of humor and social media in this war has been brilliant and would make a great dissertation. Such a great tool for morale, very much so. I mean, the Ukrainians have just been they especially have been viciously funny with this. That is a good point. I'll do the recap. Yeah. We got a few more minutes anyway just to talk, but then I'll or I could do the recap. Well, I say tortilla because I speak Spanish, but I'll still say it like an American, tortilla. I object to people, and people do this with Spanish, and I don't know why in this country. We don't really do it with other languages, but this need to speak Spanish like you're in Mexico or something, like tortilla. If you're Latino, fair enough, okay? But there's this weird thing with Spanish where, at least in Greek, I don't do it with, you don't find it with a lot of other languages, but not too much. But anyway, I find it a little weird. But I say tortilla, like in America. I'm not going to say tortilla. Is that a Texas thing? Tortilla? I don't know. My voice is actually much better. I'm telling you, it's like I left DC and boom, my voice got better. So who knows? But all right, let me. I'll do the updates. I'm going to go to Discord. Yeah, we'll go to Discord afterwards, and then we can talk about the no need KNEAD bread. I think so, Deborah. Deborah's saying, do you think that Putin wants to keep Kyiv in place in case he takes over? I think that was the plan originally. Clearly, I think. But now, I mean, maybe that's still. I don't get it. It's weird. Anyway, I went through the top list of donors to Ukraine by GDP, Estonia was at the top of the list, followed by Latvia, then Poland. Putin has decreed to expand the military by 137,000 men, but nobody has any idea how he's going to pull it off because he probably won't. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, got cut off from the power grid in Ukraine today. Could have been a dangerous situation. Looks like it's fixed for now. The Ukrainians, as Lilise was saying, had a wonderful little social media spat with the Lukashenko, the dictator of Belarus, today. The death toll from the Russian missile attack on the train station yesterday in eastern Ukraine is 25 dead, 31 injured, including 2 small children, 11 years old and 6 years old. Le Monde in France ran a story about France's oil company Total and how it has basically been secretly providing fuel to Russian warplanes striking Ukraine. Total denies it. Le Monde is standing by its story. Kyiv in Ukraine changed the name of 95 streets or squares associated with Russia. In Riga, the Latvians took down a monument, a 79-meter tall or 260-foot tall monument to the Soviet liberators. These are the same Soviet liberators who then took Latvia and held it hostage for 45 years as part of the Soviet Union. Thus, the reason the Latvians don't really feel like the Russians were liberators, because the Russians came in. The Russians basically used World War II as actually, that was another thing I was going to talk about yesterday, but I'll have to pull up the data, and I mean the document, and talk about it. But there was a secret document that the Russians had signed, the Soviets had signed with the Nazis. Thank you, Azam, for that. And it was basically parceling up Eastern Europe and giving it to the Poland and everything, and giving it to the Russians. Really nasty. So yeah, when the Russians talk about being liberators, the Russians had a secret peace deal with the Nazis and a secret deal to take Eastern Europe. And one thing that I had not fully realized until I was reading about this 2 days ago, that the deal the Russians had with the Nazis made it so that Hitler was able to attack Poland and basically get World War II going, because Putin felt safe that the Soviets weren't going to enter the war. If he thought the Soviets were going to enter the war, it could have changed everything in terms of, and again, you guys who are World War II experts know this better, but this is all part of a little secret agreement the Nazis had with this. Well, there was the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, but this was a secret codicil to the pact that isn't talked about very much, that I was reading about the other day. And that it was all about splitting stuff up and Eastern Europe, and basically just that. The Russians got into this whole thing. So they were partners of the Nazis. They were partners of the Nazis. And they then got involved because the Nazis attacked them. They didn't have a choice. And how did the Russians, the Russians were there to liberate Eastern Europe. Yeah, they beat the Nazis along with our help, thank you. They beat the Nazis, and then they literally enslaved Eastern Europe just like the Nazis would have. So instead of I'll be careful with my voice, instead of the German enslavers, they had the Soviet enslavers and the Russian enslavers. Absolutely ridiculous, Anyway, get me pissed off at the Russians again. All right, guys. That is it for tonight. I'm heading over to the Discord. We can hang out a little bit. I will share the bread recipe and tell you about the tomato sauce recipe, although I'm not sure if it's going to be any good. We'll see. But head on over to the Discord. It is discord.aravosis.com. And once you get there, scroll all the way down, and there's the voice channels, and there's one channel that's like John's After Show. I think it's John's After Show. And we will go hang out there, and I will use my mic, and we will talk for a bit, not forever, maybe 15, 20 minutes. Discord's free. If people can become paying members if they want. Thank you, Kay. I know I did disappear yesterday. Sorry. I was literally, Mom was like making dinner, and dinner was ready, and I was starving. So I went to eat. Sorry about that. All right, guys, let me head over to the Discord. I will see you guys over there shortly. All right. Bye. Boom. And you all